New efforts are underway to salvage a summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is expected to meet with a top North Korean official in New York this week. Yong Chol is en route to the U.S. from Beijing right now. This is considered the North's highest level mission to the U.S. in 18 years. So for more on this, we want to bring in CBS News State Department reporter Kylie Atwood. She's joining us from Washington. So Kylie, what can we expect from Mike Pompeo's meeting today? Will he be able to convince North Korea to hold a summit with the U.S.?
Well, Amory, as far as we know, that summit, even though it's been canceled once, it's back on. U.S. government officials say that they are in communication with North Koreans. We heard Pompeo testifying on the Hill last week saying that the U.S. was getting a lot of dial tones, simply being ignored by the Kim regime. Well, clearly, that's not the case anymore. We have Yong Chol coming over here to meet with Pompeo, and this is really going to grease the wheels for that summit that we expect to happen on June 12th in Singapore. And we expect that these two will really be talking about what's on the agenda, what Trump and Kim Jong-un want to accomplish and want to walk away from this summit being able to say to the world.
Okay, so that's some strong wording that we can actually expect this summit versus some waffling or anything in the middle. How significant is it that North Korea is sending Yong Chol to the U.S.?
Right. So Yong Chol will be the first North Korean official to visit with top U.S. government officials beyond meetings at the UN for the first time in 18 years. So this is an extremely significant event. Pompeo is going to New York for this meeting, and Yong Chol is actually seen as someone who is a really top official. He's been an insider in the North Korean regime for the greater part of the last 40 years. For 30 years, he worked for the North Korean spy agency, and he also is well known here in the U.S. because he's sanctioned by the U.S. government. So he's going to have to get a waiver to make this trip, but it indicates that the U.S. is willing to do what it takes to move forward and get the ball rolling to actually have this summit pull it off on June 12th.
Do you know why he's sanctioned by the U.S.?
He's sanctioned by the U.S. for his involvement in the nuclear program, but he also is known for a number of other things. He's said to be the person who was behind the sinking of a South Korean ship in 2010 that killed over 40 people. So he's not necessarily someone who is friendly to Americans. The fact that he's sitting down with Pompeo, this will be actually their third time meeting, means that they are really starting to develop a relationship.
Well, that's very interesting, but he's not going to Washington. He's going to New York.
Right. And I asked the State Department multiple times why that was the case. I mean, obviously, Pompeo went to the capital of North Korea. He met with Kim Jong-un. But the U.S. isn't rolling out the same red carpet for Yong Chol here. He is going to New York. He's not meeting with Trump. And the State Department says, listen, he's traveling this far. It doesn't really matter where he goes. He's meeting with U.S. officials. That's what matters. But there are some North Korea watchers that say that it'll be interesting to see how the North Koreans read this, because it's not necessarily mirroring how they treated the U.S. officials in North Korea.
Right. Well, he's such a controversial guy. Perhaps the concern is lending too much legitimacy to him, but clearly he's the one that U.S. officials have to meet with. You know, there are also diplomatic teams working away in Singapore and in North Korea. What do we know about the two missions there?
Yeah, you're right. So there are two teams. The Singapore team is led by the U.S. ambassador, the current ambassador to the Philippines, actually. He is Ambassador Sung Kim. But before this position, he was the U.S. ambassador to South Korea, and he was the State Department top envoy for North Korea policy. He is an expert in this realm. So he is in the DMZ working on the agenda, the diplomatic side of this. And then in Singapore, Singapore, there's a White House logistics team that is on the ground, putting down the framework as to how this meeting will be pulled off, where it's going to happen, how long it's going to last for, all of the nitty-gritty. The State Department won't give us the exact readout of those meetings that are taking place in both Singapore and the DMZ, but we know that they're both working on different tracks headed in the same direction toward this June 12th summit in Singapore.
All right, some positive indications there. Kylie Atwood, thank you very much.
Thanks, Anne Marie.